In 2012, the Canadian Parliament passed Bill C-38, which contained major changes to the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act and drastically eroded the environmental impact assessment process. If you thought the EIA system was weak before, you should see it now. Ultimately, EIAs identify how development projects will affect the biophysical and socioeconomic environments. They inform decision makers, anticipate risks, but also identify sustainable alternatives, mitigation strategies, and plans for monitoring after project completion. Also important, they invite public participation and feedback. The original act has been unable to protect Canadian waters, air, soil, forests, animals, or their habitats. Bill C-38 further weakens that protection. The requirement for an EIA is now at the discretion of the Environment Minister. This will make the process less common and open to more intense industry lobbying. The Act repeals the Kyoto Implementation Act, which drops reporting against greenhouse gas emissions. The National Roundtable on Economy and Environment has been abolished. Protection of species at risk and their habitat is weakened. The Fisheries Act has been gutted, and disruption of fish habitat is no longer prohibited. Shorter time limits have been imposed on the whole process, and pipeline approvals expedited. Public participation has been greatly reduced, and EIA responsibilities now fall mainly to the province. The bill has many implications on Canada's environment, politics, economy, and social standing. Environmentally, it reduces the amount of data collected on parks and species at risk, but also weakens the EIA requirements that companies investing in resource extraction need to fulfill. This in turn emphasizes our economic reliance on fossil fuel, forestry, and mining, and reduces future potential for an economy based on renewable resources. This negatively impacts our international reputation, highlighting Canada as a massive pollution emitter, and negates many of the prior contributions we've made to environmental preservation. Overall, the bill gives the Canadian economy priority over the environment. It weakens previous bills that had enforced environmental protection, creates shortcuts for energy sector developers, and reduces our greenhouse gas reduction plans in order to enable oil extraction. Consider this example. TransCanada has submitted its proposal for a pipeline that will move nearly 1 million barrels of oil a day across 6 provinces. A project of this size should be subjected to enormous overview and inspection. At nearly 30,000 pages, the proposal would have already been a staggering opponent, but the recent changes to our EIA Act make it nearly undefeatable. Consider the new time limits implemented. The National Energy Review Board has 15 months to complete their assessment on a pipeline proposal. This is not a realistic timeframe to try and qualify all potential concerns and may result in problems being overlooked. Additionally, the pipeline could cut through numerous habitats, but Bill C-38 exempts pipelines under review from having to minimize their impacts on protected habitats. EIA standards shouldn't be cut, they should be strengthened. First, Canada needs to take a multi-scaled adaptive approach to policy decisions affecting environmental governance. This needs to include the work of scientific community at a greater scale. Scientists employed by the government should be allowed to share their work with the Canadian public without censorship. As well, it's counterproductive to have the federal government control development in parts of an ecosystem and the provincial government in other areas. The ecosystem needs to be viewed in a holistic manner. Canada needs to update its legal consideration of what compounds are categorized as pollutants and add carbon dioxide to the list. Its effects on the atmosphere should be included in every EIA. That evaluation should include all phases of a project, from initiation through to post-implementation. Our government should be applying the precautionary principle in all EIA processes and policies. The amount of water and other natural resources that are used and not returned to the ecosystem in a healthy state should be assessed within every EIA. Corporations should be made more accountable for all damages inflicted on the environment as a result of their activities, and they should pay Canadians an equitable amount for the natural resources used. Furthermore, a carbon tax should be implemented on CO2 emitting goods and services, as well as development projects. Tax dollars should be used to fund environmental conservation, assessment processes, and renewable resource development to ensure our economy is strong. Opposition groups and citizens should be permitted and encouraged to voice their opinion, even if they are not directly affected parties. In examining the ramifications of Bill C-38, it draws attention to the many shortcomings in Canadian policy that are over and above the EIA process. Canada needs a long-term energy policy to move the country away from fossil fuels and towards renewable energy. We also need a strategic environmental impact assessment policy that supports sustainable development. Learning more about Bill C-38 as well as other Frankenstein bills, talking about them with the people you know, and telling your local government representatives that you dislike what they're doing is integral. By making your voice heard, participating in the discussion, and voting, you can help make a difference. It's your democratic right as a Canadian citizen, so use it.
It's as if consideration of environmental consequences are somehow an impediment to development and the economy. This is simply not the case, and that's what the environmental community has worked so long for, to find a truly sustainable economy that would protect the environment and all of the values that we hold dear.
Canada has always been a world leader in terms of fighting pollution and climate change, with successes like the Montreal Protocol. Why are we going backwards? And what are you going to do about it?